I'm Cathy.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Ola, and welcome to Luna Book Club.
Today we are talking about Rhythm of War, the 4th book in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson.
Hey.
Woohoo!
Yeah!
I have just finished reading this for the first time. Rachel's just finished reading it for the second time.
Second time, yes.
And we have a lot of thoughts.
We do. We have much to talk about.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Edit that to the front of the video.
Okay, thank you, Orla. My first question for you, Cathy, is: did you enjoy it?
I did.
What are the positives and negatives of your experience?
Ooh, okay. I did enjoy it. I've enjoyed the series overall.
Mm-hmm.
I think this book, I think how I summarised it in my October reading journal, is that it does have a pacing problem for me. And you said in your reading journal, I think Cathy's going to struggle with the pacing.
I did, yeah. Because when I read it, I think when I read this the first time, I consumed it.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to know what happens, because I'm really excited about the story and the characters. Whereas this time I was reading it more slowly. Every time I got to a Dalinar or Yasmin chapter, I was like, I don't care. I don't care. And I think I said in our Oathbringer video that I had forgotten what Dalinar's storyline was. It's because he's barely in it.
Yeah, he's not in it a lot.
I don't care about what he's doing. I care about what's happening in the tower. Put on your editor head. Where would you make the cuts?
Okay, I got a good example of it. I feel like sometimes we're forced to see every single step a character makes in making a decision and following it through. And sometimes we just don't need that much detail, or I don't need that much detail. So for example, in Dalinar's storyline, and you're right, he doesn't do a lot, he decides that he needs to take a step back from managing the battles and overseeing the war thing and concentrate on his powers, because his powers are his unique thing, and that's the thing he can contribute the most to the effort. So he wants to... Now, I've said that in like 20 seconds, and it's quite a reasonable thing to make. But in that journey, we had like a chapter where he oversees the battle but is thinking about doing it, and then again that happens, and then he decides to go try and find a herald who also has this power, who is a bit crazy. So Dalinar is a chapter where he makes a decision to. Then he has another chapter later on where he decides to tell somebody who's made that decision, including a bit where he sends some scouts to spy on that, well not spy, but to go and see where that guy's positioned in the battle lines. So a Windrunner goes and sees him, and then he reports back to Dalinar and says, yes, that guy's there. And Dalinar goes, yeah, I'm going to go see him to learn about my powers. So you have, that's like a lengthy build-up, and then he goes and meets him and the other thing. So really, I only needed, I'm going to go speak to a herald to see if they'll train me in my powers, and when they met. And if there'd just been a line that said he sent a scout ahead of him, I'd be fine with that.
Okay, fair enough.
So I think it's that kind of thing where like a character, we're forced to see every little step they make, and you know what, I think the writing is strong enough that I don't need to see it all spelled out like that.
Do you think, I mean obviously that's just one example, but do you think Brandon put all those steps in because Dalinar isn't in the book a lot, and he's like, well, people will want to see Dalinar, so he was like, what can I have him do?
I could very well believe that that's why that's in it. But I think it happens with like some other bits too, like I think like some of Navani's experiments and things that she goes through to try and like find a way. Some of them are interesting.
All of them are interesting. That's my gal. That's my gal.
I love her. I loved her storyline overall, but I didn't need her to break down every experiment that she did.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It does get, I think, because there's a lot, Brandon puts a lot of thought into his magic systems and everything to do with investiture and Stormlight, so he wants to share that with people. He wants them to know how it works. So I do see what you mean there.
So, but I am nitpicking. So I think what I think overall is that it has a pacing problem, but it really delivers at the same time. So like, yeah, it's got an issue, but it's such a great work of art.
We're in the prologue on the night of Gavilar's assassination. We're in the head of Navani. What did you think of the prologue?
Oh, I really liked it. And I think the thing that I liked is it was seeing Gavilar from a different perspective and seeing a different side of him. He's quite... I actually haven't put a lot of thought into him as a character but it's interesting because everybody's got different memories of who he is and what his legacy is.
And I think because we're in Navani's head, that is someone who is intimately close to him.
And she kind of sees the side of him that isn't a front, I think. So, yeah. And it was heartbreaking too. I felt so sorry for her because she's not married to a nice guy.
No.
And he's treating her with such disrespect, and she's marvellous.
What do you think he is up to? You can say you don't know.
So I think, again, this is one where the lore is more expansive than my head can cope with.
That's fair. We also don't have a full picture, so you are pulling your strings.
Okay. He was trying to make... what's the light that repels stuff around it?
Anti-void light?
Anti-void light?
Yeah.
Is that the same as wall light?
No.
Okay. Or tower light?
No.
Okay. This is why I'm so easily confused. He's trying to make this kind of light that repels the air around it. And I think that's connected to this idea that the Ghost Bloods have, or somebody have, that you could make a lot of money and get a lot of power if you could transport Stormlight more easily across Shadesmar.
Okay.
I think those two ideas are connected. Or maybe even find a way off the planetary system. So yeah, I think his plot was something about that, either making use of Shadesmar to make more riches and power for himself, or maybe even going off-world. That's what I think he was doing.
Okay. Navani, after her conversation with Gavilar, she goes to her room, or she's left in her room by him, and she paints a prayer ward that says death. So she prays for his death, and then he dies.
Oh, the guilt. To say that she did that, and that was heartbreaking time, I'm surprised she doesn't have more of a complex about that. Like, it comes up a little bit early on, and then she just lets it go. Unless maybe she's got some kind of power we don't yet know about, where her prayers really do get answered.
But maybe it's just been a long time.
Yeah,
it has been a long
time. She has had time to process it. That's a good point.
And I do appreciate the way that she still turns to prayer, even though she has a lot of things around her telling her that that would be a pointless thing to do. I admire that faith.
On to the rest of the book. My edition, the UK edition, doesn't have something on the back of it, but the American one does. And I found this out when I was making notes for this video, and then I found out every single book beforehand has had this like in-world blurb.
What?
So I'm just going to read it aloud, and then we're going to discuss this point. That's the structure of the video that we're
I like that.
today. So it says, there are secrets we have kept for so long, watching, sleepless, eternal, and soon they will no longer be ours. The one who is 3 seeks the captured soul, but does not know it. The imprisoned friend, so long ago forgotten, can she free her own soul in time to find knowledge? The knowledge that damns all people of Rashar?
Shallan is with Adolin in Shadesmar. They go on a journey as like an embassy to appeal to the Honest Brain to say, come join the war with us. And while Shallan's on that journey, she kind of learns that, one, that she has a spy in her team, and that the Ghost Bloods are sending her there to hopefully assassinate somebody in the Honest Brain's city. So she's kind of dealing with that, and at the same time, she just does not want to be her personality anymore. Like, she's hiding herself and letting Vale and Radiant take over all the time. And there's like a 4th personality lurking in the shadows called Formless, who seems to be very dark and twisted. That's what Shallan's kind of up to in this one.
Yeah, and then at the end, she finds out it's a herald that they sent her to assassinate. Yeah. And then she rejects that and absorbs Vale into herself. Yeah. Shallan comes out. She finds out that she had a light weaver, a lice friend before, and killed it, made it a deadeye. Yeah. As well as Pattern. So she has 2 shard blades. What did you think of Shallan's story in the book?
I think that there's something about the execution of this thing of Shallan having several personalities that she can swap between, and sometimes by choice and sometimes not. It's somehow, it's just never really rang true for me. So I always felt those kind of bits, like, they carry me along and I'm fine, but there's just something part of that storyline that just reminds, like, you're reading a made-up story. I know that sounds stupid, but there's other parts where, like, I'm so into it and it's just flowing that I forget that these aren't real. But there's something about Shallan's storyline that I'm always aware that I'm reading a made-up thing, and I think partly it's just because that it just doesn't quite convince me. I mean, maybe it's just an idea that I I can't quite understand, and maybe other people relate to it more of that cognitive dissonance to be able to say, no, this person's in control. Especially because by the end of this book, she kind of realises, no, I am formless. Formless is me, and I am Vale, and Vale, and me. And as a reader, I'm like, yeah.
Fair enough.
So, like, it's fine. It just doesn't grip me. What about you?
I like Shallan's character. I like them all. I like them all. But I think when I'm with Shallan, I'm also a bit like, well, what's Adeline doing? I care more about Adeline in that part of the story. So I don't know. I guess, and I think because with this on a reread, I already knew that there wasn't a spy, because she thinks that Patton is the spy. And Patton was speaking to Wit, but he wasn't spying in the way that she thought.
And I think that spy story is another one where, like, I would edit it down because, you know, Shallan thinks one of her three maids is a spy.
Yeah, she goes through all this rigmarole
to
like work out who it is, and then she's like, no, actually, it's not one of them.
It's not one of them. It's Patton. But then it wasn't really Patton. Patton's been talking to Wit. But you feel like Patton's not talking to Wit as in, like, Wit sent Patton to spy on Shallan. Patton has some independence as, like, a cognitive being and can do what he wants. It's not just Shallan's slave.
And he's worried about Shallan.
Yeah.
And he's speaking to Wit out of concern.
Yeah.
And Wit in the past has come and helped Shallan through some of her dark moments. He's there to offer her advice and comfort. So Patton's just like, mate, what do I do?
Yeah.
She's not doing well. Help.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So I feel like, again, that it was a long build-up of like, oh, he's a spy, Patton's a spy, oh, she's not really a spy at all. So not only was it, like, frustrating as we're reading it, because it didn't quite, again, ring true, but it didn't lead to anything. I mean, maybe if she could have learned in another way, Patton is lying to me, Patton is keeping secrets from me, if I can't trust Patton, I'm really stuck. That's worth looking at. But I felt like the spy arc to get there was a bit tedious.
Okay. The fallen soldier caresses and loves the spear even as it gouges his own flesh. He steps ever forward, ever into darkness without light. He can bring none with him but that which he can kindle himself. Kaladin.
Oh, Kaladin.
Kaladin in this book. So he starts the book. We're a year in the future from Oathbringer. He goes to Heartstone to get the mink.
Yeah.
To come and take over the armies. In doing so, they get attacked by the Fused. Kaladin wants his family to be saved, so they take all of Heartstone to Urithiru. And Kaladin gets home and has like a panic attack in his room, and it's very sad. And then he gets left behind. He gets relieved from duty. He gets left behind. He starts a support group for veterans with PTSD.
Yeah.
He has arguments with his dad. The Fused come to the tower. Kaladin still has powers and he's a fugitive. And then Moash is there, tormenting his dreams, telling him to end it all. And then at the end, it's too much. He can't take it. He gets slightly corrupted by odium and he goes into this fugue trance state where he is just killing singers to try and save his father. Yeah. And then he throws himself off the top of Urithiru, but then Dalinar comes, gives him some more time, and then he swears his fourth ideal, and he saves the day, and he kills the pursuer one last time, and it's really good. Actually, he does that before he jumps off Urithiru. Anyway, what did you think of Kaladin in this book?
Love Kaladin in this book. Love it. I really appreciate that Kaladin's depression has not been fixed by a one-time thing, and even when he's super powered, he still struggles with these things, and there isn't a quick fix. I think that is really responsible storytelling, and I think a lot of people will connect to him in that way. And I think Kaladin's stories are always so exciting. In every book, his stories are exciting and interesting. I think Sanderson writes about failure and defeat so well, because he lets it happen and then not let that be the end of the story. Like, things can happen even when you're captured, even when you're the fugitive, even when you've lost. Life can go on. And I think that's made some really interesting storytelling, and Kaladin's storyline shows that really, really well. I love who he's becoming, and I love the people who like try and take care of him. I think the tensions with his father is frustrating, but again, really compelling reading.
What do you think of Lirin? Because the fandom are divided on him.
I think his position is really understandable, and it's coming from a place of guilt and fear. Of, you know, he has tried in the past to stand up for people and do the kind of role Kaladin's done, and it ended with people he really loved and cared about dying. And so he's picked a different way, and I understand why he really wants others to choose that way too. So I do understand it, and it's one of those things like once you start on a path, it must be very hard to try and turn from it. So yeah, it's frustrating, but I feel like I could understand it. So yeah, I don't agree with everything that he did or said, but as a character, I really enjoyed reading about him.
Okay. I agree. I am the same. I like Lyrin as a character, and you can 100% see where it's coming from, and the fact that this is a man who is dealing with the grief of losing a child.
Yeah.
And ultimately, yeah, he does hurt Kaladin, but he is hurting himself.
Yeah.
Back to Kaladin. Kaladin in this book, Wick comes and he says, hey, yeah, life sucks, but the sun will shine and you will be warm again. Then after that, Kaladin faces a loss.
I loved Teft in this book. He's not in it loads and loads.
He's
but...
unconscious, like the whole book.
Yeah, I know. But whenever he appears, like he's had just such unwavering faith in Kaladin, and he's one of those characters. I guess because he's like the side man, he's never going to be the big hero of the piece. But on the quiet, beneath all the, like his growth and his own issues, he's found hope. So that even as it was it with hope, he dies.
I think he dies knowing that he's loved.
Yeah.
He says.
So I love that. I just, the only thing I wish is that Kaladin could have known what was going through Teft's mind as he died, because I think Kaladin's big issue is that death is the worst thing that could ever happen to anybody that he loves. And the chapter of Teft dying actually shows it's not, obviously it is bad and it's sad and awful, but there are some things that are even more powerful than that, and Teft knew that. And I hope Kaladin gets to a point where he knows that too. I cried on that chapter.
I also cried. I cried in a public place because I was listening to the audiobook. You have mentioned to me that you don't like that Kaladin's stories, he seems to get to rock bottom and then comes out.
Yeah.
He gets to rock bottom and then comes out. Do you think he's got another trough in his future, or do you think he's on level ground for the time being?
I think he's still going to struggle with depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. I think that's not going to magically go away because we've not seen that so far, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have said to you that they're all good when you see it, but it has been a few times that like Kaladin's, like I said, hit rock bottom and then come out super powered to save the day just in time. And it is a cool thing, but I feel like if he does it again, it kind of cheapens what we've experienced so far. I don't mind him like getting a victory from like defeat, that's really cool, but I don't need him to reach his absolutely rock bottom again. I'd like to see him a bit more stronger and a bit more robust, not completely like healed and everything's fine, but have a bit more of a sense of security that stops him sinking all the way down there now. And because I think that would be cool to see a Kaladin who has matured and grown a bit. Yeah. I think that would be an interesting thing to see in the next book.
Okay.
Oh, just the thing, I think the other thing with Kaladin's at the end, he's got like magic shard plate.
Yeah, he's got his armour. So when you swear the fourth ideal, you get the armour. So the spren is the shard blade in the Knights Radiant, and the armour comes when you sworn your fourth ideal. And he could like send it to other people, couldn't he?
Yeah.
Which I had completely forgotten about. So that bit when I think Adin gets a viewpoint, the little boy, and he's about to be killed, and then wow, he has Kaladin's protagonist armour.
That's just such a lovely idea of like you get something that helps you better protect yourself and other people. I don't know why I'd ask this question because I lose all sense when the lore comes in, but it felt like the shard plate was materialising as if it was like windspren.
Yes.
That was like solidifying over them. Which again is just cool because it doesn't seem to be like, has he bonded a host of windspren, or is it just that the spren are keen to help out.
Mate, I've got no clue. Do you think that other Knights Radiant, like other orders, will have shard plate that manifests in different ways? Like, because obviously Kaladin's can move to different people. Do you think that's just because he's a Windrunner and they're all about protecting people, or do you think everyone's shard plate will be able to transfer between people?
I don't know. That's really
Neither do I. I don't know either. I just thought of that question now.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts, guys. Hit us with your theories about shard plate. The broken sister sees her mistakes and thinks she is one herself. She seems so far from her ancestors, but does not realise they carry her upon their shoulders, toward victory and toward that most important silence. Summary for Venli in this book. She's serving Leshwi, one of the flying fused. She goes with Raboniel to Uruthuru and is secretly a Knight Radiant. At the end of the book, she finds out about a remnant of her people who have survived that left before the Everstorm came in, and she goes out to find them with some of the fused. You've said in the past that, well, especially after book 1, you said you wanted to know more about the Pashendi.
Yeah.
So in this book, obviously we have Venli's viewpoint chapters, we have the flashbacks with Venli and Nishonai.
Yeah.
We also have some Relaine POV, and all the stuff about the fused. Are you still interested in the listeners, the singers, the fused, or are you...
Am I satisfied now?
Yeah.
Overall, I do like the overall story of the Pashendi listeners, and the overall story of this people, and I'm invested in that. I'm so glad that there is a wider remnant of the listeners that have survived.
How many more books are in the Stormlight Archive?
There's one book that's about to come out that's going to close like this section, and then there'll be another 5 that are set 15 years after this.
Yeah, look
I
at
get
you
some
been doing your
homework.
research.
I thought they all had already been done.
No.
Because you said that one of them came out like 7 years ago or something.
Yeah, but they're really long, so they take a long time to write.
That's true.
I am invested in learning about the listeners and what's going to happen to them next. I think I'm more interested in what happened to them long ago in the past that's kind of led to them being the beings that they are.
Like, so with... You want to go into the heads of the fused, or to know what it was like before, like 4,500 years ago.
Yeah, what brought them to worship Odium? I struggled a bit because the flashbacks of Venli and Shonai, again, I think that they told me a lot of stuff that I already knew.
Yeah.
It was like reliving scenes I'd already read. And I felt like, I was thinking about Venli's character today, because I was intrigued by her in an earlier book as Ashoni's sister, because you're like, this girl's clearly up to something. She's a bit manipulative, like she's holding back secrets. And that made me interested in her. But actually in this book, having all those secrets laid bare and then being quite unimpressive, because really she was just being quite naive and manipulated. That just wasn't as interesting to me. Her storyline now, as almost like a refugee or like a hidden survivor deep within the camps of the enemy and trying to become a better person but struggling a lot because she's also quite self-interested, is kind of there. I think for her to be more interesting to me though, I would need her to be a bit more naturally manipulative and sly. She almost feels like she's one of the good guys who's ended up on the wrong side of the tracks, trying to fight her way through.
Are the listeners, the singers, inherently bad guys? Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not the Voidbringers.
No.
And I know that they're following Odium, but there's a bit in Rhythm of War where obviously Venli struggles with her identity as a Knight Radiant and she keeps it hidden, but then at the end of the book she shows her powers to Leshwi, and Leshwi reacts and is like, the Spren have come back to us. So I just... Are the fused even the bad guys?
Well, no, I don't think they are, and I think that's why they're still interesting, but I kind of wanted Venli to be more of a bad guy.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
I think, the listeners and the Pashendi as a whole and fused, I'm open to them having a redemption arc, but I felt like Venli was set up in the first book as a bit more conniving, and I quite like reading about conniving characters. So she's a bit too... She's been a bit too naive for me, so I think I would have enjoyed her being a bit more evil. As a character though, not as like a representative of her race.
We're going to skip Navani for now because you just said you liked evil people. Now in the last video you mentioned that you didn't like Taravangian. you didn't like his morality. And obviously in this book, we see him in the interludes. By the end of the book, he has ascended to godhood and taken up the power of Odium.
What the?
What the? Because he's a manipulative, conniving guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I feel a bit better now, because I felt like before the books were trying to set us up as if like, you kind of half feel sorry for this guy, but then he's gone down the wrong tracks, and you know, it could happen to anybody who was super intelligent and super without empathy one day and then the other way around the next, like, and now like, no, actually he is. I felt like the mask slipped, and actually choosing to become Odium, it kind of revealed his true intentions all along. I feel like he's more now of a guy who wasn't really trying to save everybody. I think that's a story he told himself. Really, he's always been power hungry. And Dalliner kind of probes him on that. Dalliner says, I don't think you tell the truth there. You've not done that for this reason. So I think that is more interesting. Okay.
I now feel like, so there's a bit, once he's ascended to godhood, I feel like he meets with cultivation and he's like, you prepared me for this. Somebody had to take up the power of Odium, who had both sides of the coin instead of just being power hungry. So I feel like, I mean, I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I am now a bit like, well, what if that's not actually what's going to happen? What if it turns out that in the long run he is doing it for good reasons?
Oh. I have not seen evidence that how do you say it?
I say Taravangian, I don't know if that's right.
The idea, like, when he's not clever, he's compassionate. Is he compassionate? Is he just more able to feel guilt? Because I would say, like, true compassion, it doesn't just make you cry and feel sad about things. You make choices to better the lives of other people. And we've never seen him do that. Not really. He's always working his long game, intelligence or not. Yeah. So he doesn't have both sides. I don't quite get what cultivation thinks she was doing in that. Or she might be doing something completely different to what everybody assumes.
Maybe cultivation's a bad guy.
Maybe cultivation's a bad guy. I don't really know what to make of Odium as a bad guy, either now or in his new form. So either like old form or new form. What is he after? Because in this book it's kind of revealed that he's after to get off the system and do like universal domination instead of world domination. And I'm a bit like, why? What are you going to do with that? If you had all the power and stuff in the universe, why? What? Like, he doesn't even want like a bigger house or a swimming pool, you know, or like, what does he want? What would he do with it all? I don't feel I understand him.
Maybe he just wants to flex on people.
Yeah. Maybe. I think the thing with Odium is that it is all-consuming.
Yeah.
So my understanding of it is that once Odium is off the planet and in control of the universe, Odium will devour everything and it will just be Odium. Odium must be the only thing in existence.
Okay.
I
think.
And the mother of machines, most important of them all, dances with liars at a grand ball. She must unmask them, find their hidden truths, and present them to the world. She must admit that the worst lies have been the ones she tells herself. If she does, our secrets will finally become truths instead. Let's move on to Nirvana Kalen, the mother of machines. I love her so much. I could have made this whole video about her, but I thought that would be very selfish of me because I just love her so much. What is your opinion on Nirvana? You can be negative. That's fine. Everyone is allowed their own opinion.
I loved her too.
Oh yeah, fine.
I loved her too, and I loved her storyline. I love in stories and books. I love like a good bottle episode. So having somebody trapped in a revealed location with only a certain amount of resources available, and then you have to just work in the confines of what you've got and be resourceful and clever. I always love those kind of storylines. It was the same with Kaladin and the Bridge Cruise in book 1, where like this is a really narrow window of what we've got to work with, and then you just got to make it work. I find that so much more interesting than we can trot all over the world. So I loved her storyline. She is so clever. And I love the way she gave up. I'm so glad that I think now she will accept that she is a scholar instead of telling herself, I'm not really a scholar.
In our last video, you mentioned about how humans capture Spren and then exploit them. They've enslaved the Pascendi, and that kind of exploitative nature of humanity. And the sibling throughout the book is very resistant to Navani because of Navani's history of capturing Spren for Fabrials and things like that. But ultimately, they do then form a bond. And the sibling had said they would never bond a human again. And I'm just sat thinking about how great Navani is. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm glad that has been brought up because I was very uncomfortable with capturing Spren. Their sibling has a point, and I hope they find a way to work with Spren without capturing them and forcing them into little prisons. But I do also like that. So Navani, I admire her a lot, but she also has this ruthless streak where she knows what she wants and she will always serve the good of humans and the good of her kin. So I don't think they're going to have an easy partnership.
You can't talk about Navani without talking about Raboniel. What did you think of Raboniel?
A really interesting villain. I liked how there was moments of cooperation and then moments of just complete betrayal. But not complete betrayal because they both knew that they didn't really have one another's loyalties. And she had to murder her own daughter. There is
such a powerful scene.
Yeah. You feel like the Fused are as trapped as anybody else is in this. And they just seem to be unable to contemplate change. And they're another one who I'm like, what is the ideal world for you guys? I like that she just seemed to the end of the war. Preferably with her being on the winning side, but you felt like it wasn't her only option. She would take losing the war if it meant
for
the
it
war
to be
would
over.
be over.
Yeah. Navani's invention of anti-void light, anti-stormlight does pertain to an end to the war.
Yeah.
One last question.
Okay.
Do you kind of ship Raboniel and Navani? Because vibes? Do you feel the vibes?
I didn't think of that at all, but I can see where you're coming from.
Oh, the vibes.
I saw more as a bigger picture of harmony between two races.
Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
Because Navani and Dal are there.
Yeah, but Raboniel's the first person who sees her, and Raboniel makes Navani aware of the fact that she confronts Navani with the fact that Navani is a scholar, and she is someone who has ideas, and she calls her ingenious. I just love it. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Do you have any predictions for going forward? One prediction. What do you think is in store in the future?
I think that dead-eyed Spren are gonna come back.
Okay.
And the Spren are gonna get invested in this war.
Okay. Oh yeah, because we never even talked about Adeline and Maya.
Oh.
He has made such groundbreaking efforts in restoring Maya to herself. She has a moment where she finds her voice and she's desperate in this trial to say no.
Yeah.
That's my boy!
That's my boy.
I made this choice.
Yeah.
You can't take that away from me. So she has started coming back to herself, and you think that's going to be a more permanent thing for more Dead-Eyed Spren?
Yeah, I think the way back is going to be opened, and I think the Spren are going to get more invested in this war, especially now that they can be killed in it directly. And I love Adeline anyway. No notes. I love his journey. I love the idea that he's trying to find out how to become his own man, and that he's so caring about others. And I love the moment where he took Shallan on a little mountain journey to see the star Spren, to bring her out of herself.
Oh, romance.
Perfect. No notes. Love Adeline.
That's it for our discussions of Rhythm of War today. If you have read and liked this book, let us know. Let us know if you have any criticisms, if you agree with Cathy about the pacing. We are now going to have a little break, and then we're going to come back together to talk about predictions specifically for Book 5.
And congratulations if you made it to the end and
congratulations
watched the 50-minute video.
All there is right. This has been a long one. Yeah, we're going to talk about some predictions for the last book in this arc of the Stormlight Archive. So that video will be coming out you know, a few weeks just before the release of Wind and Truth, so join us then. We release videos every Friday. We'll see you then.
I think when I was last filming outdoors, I adjusted the legs, so I think I just need to unadjust.
Ooh. Are you aware that this is all recording?
No.
It's heavy.
It is heavy.
If you are editing this, please put this in the video.